On November 26, 1930, the front page of the Medicine Hat Daily Journal in Canada published a shocking headline: "Village of the Dead." This news spread fear across the entire country, because in the far northern region of Canada, an entire tribe had disappeared overnight without leaving a single trace behind. Welcome back to Jam TV, dear viewers. Far away in the remote and frozen wilderness of northern Canada lies Angikuni Lake. Along its edge stood a small settlement where an Inuit, Eskimo, tribe lived peacefully. Around 100 to 150 people lived here, surviving mainly by fishing in the icy waters of the lake and hunting animals in the surrounding forests. This region is so harsh and cold that in thousands of square kilometers, only a few thousand people can survive. It was a freezing day in November 1930 when a hunter named Joe LaBelle arrived in the area. He became so busy following animal tracks that he didn't realize night had already fallen. Like many times before, he decided to spend the night in the Inuit village, where the people were known for their hospitality. Joe packed his gear and walked toward the settlement. It was a bright moonlit night, but there was an unsettling silence everywhere. No voices, no movement, only the sound of his own footsteps. Joe had visited before, and normally, even from far away, he would hear the barking of the dogs the villagers kept. But tonight nothing. Feeling uneasy, he walked faster. From a distance, he could see smoke rising from several huts, as if fires were still burning inside. So surely someone must be home, right? But as he entered the village, his heart sank. Not a single human being was there. Not even the dogs. What shocked Joe even more were the cooking pots on the fires. Food inside them had completely burned. Someone had started preparing dinner, but never returned to eat it. Women's sewing work was left unfinished. Needles were still threaded. It looked as if everyone had stood up and left mid-task, without warning. Then Joe found the dogs. They were tied to their posts, but all were dead from starvation, even though food lay nearby. This meant no one had fed them for many days. He also discovered a freshly dug grave, but empty, as if someone had just opened it. The entire scene filled Joe with terror. The villagers would never leave their dogs behind. They would never leave fires burning. They would never leave food cooking. Something unimaginable had happened. Joe rushed to the nearest telegraph office and informed the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP. When the police arrived, everything Joe described was proven true. First, they suspected a massacre, but there was no blood, no signs of struggle, no broken items. Nothing. Then came the biggest mystery. There were no footprints anywhere in the snow. Except Joe's. The entire village was covered in untouched snow. If someone had attacked the villagers, or if the villagers had fled, footprints would be everywhere. But there were none. The lake was frozen solid, and their boats were still pulled up on land. If they had walked onto the ice, it would have cracked somewhere. If they had been dumped into the lake, the ice would show signs of disturbance. Nothing. Police later determined the tribe had vanished several days before Joe arrived, based on the dogs' starvation. But the smoke coming from the huts suggested they hadn't been gone long. The fires had burned recently. Months of searching brought no answers. Eventually, the RCMP declared the case unsolved, and over time, people slowly forgot about it. 50 years later, in 1984, writers Roger Bohr and Nigel Blundell published an article linking the event to aliens. They claimed local hunters had seen strange flying objects near the lake. According to them, maybe one night aliens descended upon the tribe and took the entire population with them. But they had no solid evidence, and their theory was rejected by most. Over the years, many stories and theories emerged, but none were ever proven. And today, almost 100 years later, the disappearance of the Angikuni Lake tribe remains one of Canada's greatest mysteries. Where did they go? How did they vanish without footprints? What happened on that cold November night?